Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was raised military. My dad was military.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 3rd, 2025's meeting. Second. Vote. Yes. Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Second.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Motion to approve the bills. Second.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Public to speak on the agenda items only. Is there anybody here to speak on the agenda items only? Okay. New business. Make a motion to approve Tammy Stetson with McMillan Engineering to seek grant money to redo zoning and subdivision land development ordinances. That's to go through pretty well all of our ordinances, right? And make them meet our area instead of as
Supposed to
messed
be
up as they are.
grant money out there to help
Right,
you do
to
it
help
all.
pay for it.
Yes, there is.
Make a motion, we do that. A second.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Motion to approve name and contact. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the name and contact information needed when turning in anyone for violations. We did this a while back, like a year or two ago, but I don't think it was filed, so we wanted to redo it. If you turn somebody in, you need to sign your name on the paper. If you can't sign your name to it, then don't turn nobody in. So there's too much anonymous stuff these days, and it's just crazy.
Bunch of cowards.
Yeah, so if you got the nerve to turn somebody in, at least have the nerve to sign your name to it. If not, we're not gonna address it.
That's what most municipalities do.
Yeah, exactly, so, need a second it? Jared seconded the vote?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve to keep the constable at the monthly supervisors meetings. Any second?
Second.
Vote? Yes. Meeting Senator Fetterman's office, we talked, okay, you met with him, right, Larry?
Yes.
Okay. Larry met with, Senator Fetterman's office, talked about the funding for roads and other projects. Reached out to Josh Shapiro, as of now, no response back. Working to try to reach out to Senator Dave McCormick and Dave Sunday, Attorney General. Yes.
We reached out. Fetterman's office was one of the first to respond. They had a lot of good information for us. We're supposed to work with both sides of the parties, and that's what we're trying to do. Whatever it takes to help Henry Clay Township is what we're trying to do. McCormick's next on our list, and we'd like to speak to Dave Sunday too. So we're reaching out to all of them. I've reached out to Josh Shapiro a couple times. Still haven't got a good response back from him yet, but we'll keep trying.
Okay, the next one was the closing of A.J. McMillan School. There was rumor going around about the supervisors didn't do anything to stop it. Well, the supervisors don't agree with the school being closed, but there's nothing we can do to stop it. The school has their own board. They have elected officials that does them decisions, so that's not up to us.
Jesse,
We think that,
it didn't make any difference, they had their mind made up
Right.
before they had anybody meeting with.
exactly.
It was disappointing to us. They could at least held the meeting at the school they were trying to close.
Yeah.
I mean, we said that, so, or won't they close schools in Uniontown and leave ours alone up there?
Well, we said that, you know, they should have made AJ the main school for up here, and then took one of the other schools and made them into like a VOTEC or something for the kids to learn different trades. But,
Mark Clay used to beat the jump.
right,
He'd fallen down before.
right, so, yeah, we don't agree with it, but there's nothing we can do about it. That's not what we do.
You might as well.
Also, I had another question though, because when the Fellowship Center, which that's our community building, supposed to be anyways, whenever they stopped us from going there to vote, cause they didn't want the foot traffic on their new floor is what they said, and then we was interfering with basketball, which I didn't agree with that either. But where are we gonna vote at now? Because they're supposed to close this school, like, we'll vote there for this one in May, but then in June, the school's supposed to be closed. They're not gonna reopen it for us to vote in November, so where are we supposed to go?
What about Mark Clay?
We'll have to see if they allow us.
Right, we'll have to see if they allow us, but I think it should be at the Fellowship Center. That is our community building. You know, that's where we went for years and years.
Maybe the Fellowship Center will let you back.
Right. I just don't understand why we couldn't be
We'll
there.
find
though.
out tomorrow night, Clarence.
Yeah, the meeting's tomorrow night, so I guess we'll find out, but we'll let you know, hopefully next month's meeting, where they're planning on moving us to
Have you
vote.
heard if AJ sold it or anything?
I haven't heard, but I think it should be advertised or something, but that place I heard was donated years ago for an educational facility, so wouldn't it go back to the family that donated it? Something should happen. I think it should still be a school, but that's my personal opinion. My opinion, I guess, don't matter. Huh? Yeah. They'll probably end up where they close all 3 schools, and then most people will put them somewhere else send their kids.
They'd love that.
Yeah, they would. All right, addressing auditors' recommendations. Got that, do you want me to read off that list?
Yeah.
Where is that list? You know?
It's on the back of your minutes.
Oh, okay. Says, Dear Henry Clay Supervisors, this year's audit is completed, notarized, and signed. It is the auditor's recommendations to you that the following be addressed. Money spent on legal services need to be adjusted, which we agree. I mean, with attorney fees and stuff, we just gotta watch what we do, but right now, whenever you got lawsuits coming at you, what are you supposed to do? You gotta defend yourself, so. The next one would be the building bathroom needs special attention. The building bathrooms needed special attention since they put the new tank in before I was supervisor, but
The whole building needs special attention.
yeah, so that's. we're
And that's
working
why we
towards it.
did apply for a grant to build a new building, so.
So, possibly a new building with office space available for the meetings and auditor's workspace, but like he said, that's why we are trying for funding for that. Excess spending, McMillan and K2 use only when necessary. I totally agree. That's why we wanna change our ordinances and make them match our area, because right now, they don't. An ordinance needs adjusted for the auditor's salary, currently $10 an hour.
Well, gee, that would require legal expenses to be used. Just saying.
So, I think those happen at the reorganization meetings, right? Is whenever you adjust that stuff, that salary, cause we're actually done with it for this year.
Yeah,
So
it would
if
be
you-
for their next.
For their next year,
audit.
so,
Mhm.
if we're still here, we'll definitely do something about it. Keep the garbage fund revenue, it has no limits where it could be spent. Well, it does have limits, it's just, it's not, yeah, it's more flexible, it's not like, liquid fuels and stuff like that, but the garbage fund, speaking of the garbage fund, I talked to Carrie the other day, she talked to all of us, and she's got in pretty well 3/4 of the garbage money already for the year. So that's great, I mean, we are collecting things, and things is going a lot smoother, so we do have it all, pretty well the kinks worked out of it, so it's come a long ways. And that's all their recommendations for that one. The next one, discussing with the solicitor about abandoning some roads. We're gonna talk to him, there's a few roads that are just very hard to maintain,
Yeah.
and we're gonna weigh our options and see if it's profitable to keep them or not to keep them, so we'll let you know in the coming up meetings on what we're doing there.
Can we ask questions about that now, or
Uh,
do you want open public comments?
If you don't mind, open
No,
public
that's
comment, I
fine.
only got a couple more. I'm
fine.
trying to mark it so I don't lose my place. All right, a motion for zoning and planning to add a fee to the ordinance. All right, this is gonna confuse you, cause it confused me. All right, Motion for zoning and planning to add a fee to the ordinance. The cost will be the responsibility of the person applying for the permit. Okay, so I think what they're trying to say is, right now, if you apply for zoning or planning, a lot of the cost is the township's cost, and it shouldn't cost the township, it should cost the person doing the work. When we approved, I'll use for example, the dollar store. Whenever we approved the dollar store, there was so many rumors that we didn't approve it, and it was just bouncing around. Well, it didn't get filed properly to begin with at the beginning, and that's what stalled it for a couple more meetings. But that dollar store ended up costing us, it was a good bit. You guys, it was around,
I was heard it somewhere in the high 20s.
Hence-
yeah, we
hence
heard
the
around,
Escrow ordinance on page 2, that's what's to address.
Oh,
Exactly what
okay.
you're talking about.
so it should not cost the township, the taxpayers, that money. If you wanna build a project, or if I'm gonna build a project, and it's gonna cost $20,000, that's my $20,000 to spend, not everybody in the community. That's crazy.
Correct.
So we wanna adjust that to make it whoever's doing the development, that's who pays the bill, not the township. Yeah. Because right now, I've heard in the past that land developments make the township money. I'm telling you, I've been here for 5 years, I think land development costs township money. So, that's my personal opinion, I haven't seen much from
Land
it.
developments cost everybody money. The
Right.
township, the people applying for them.
Right, but it hasn't made us no money.
Correct.
Alright, so we're over that one.
We need to make a motion.
Well, it says motion to approve fees, but what fees?
Well,
Yeah,
we'll
we
deal
do.
with that on
We'll
the
deal
next
with
one.
that on the next one.
We'll let Dave deal with that on the next one. Alright, a motion to approve the maintenance agreement with Sarver Road. Stewart Township maintains Henry Clay Township portion of Sarver Road. So Sarver Road is over by Chestnut Ridge. Well, what's that called? Over there, what was that place called? Darn it. Presley Ridge. Yeah, over by Presley Ridge, back there. We have a short chunk of road back there, and Stewart takes care of it for us. It saves us from running clear over there when they're, like, their road's part of it, then ours, then their road. So they just go ahead and take care of it. It's just the way the property line goes on an angle through there. So I make a motion that we keep letting them take care of it.
I'll second that.
Okay, vote.
I'll approve it and everything, as long as Dave gets to look at it real quick first.
That's fine.
I just don't know what it's.
Okay. Old business. It says we're still waiting on the radios, but they did send for them though, right?
The radio's been sent and paid for.
That's what I mean, they're paid for,
There
so,
was a mistake, they paid for 1 radio, they were supposed to buy 10 radios.
But
They had
they-
to reissue it back out for 9 radios.
yeah, and they did get it all taken care of though, and that was grant money, so that didn't cost the township anything. But there's supposed to be correspondence with the fire and EMS and everything too.
Yeah, they were
Other townships.
Yeah, and the other townships now, because Stewart and Wharton both have those. Engineers report, I don't think we got one here. Okay. Solicitors report, your turn.
So, well, let's get to that escrow ordinance. So that's exactly what you're talking about, Jesse.
Yeah.
So, almost every municipality that has its own zoning and land development ordinance has its own escrow ordinance. And what the escrow ordinance does is, it says, before you can even begin this project, you have to put down a deposit to cover the cost of the engineering and to cover the cost of the legal fees. So that way, I'm not doing it for a deficit for you, or Tammy's not doing it as a deficit for you. So that's been something I know we kicked around, but the Dollar General really shows
Right.
The need for
the
it.
need for it, exactly. So, with your permission, I will draft a model ordinance for you guys to take a look, and a fee schedule that's comparable to other townships and municipalities. And then we'll take a look at it for the next meeting and see what you think.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to, we do that, we let you draw that up.
Sure.
I'll second that.
Vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And the other thing that we need to talk about, and Tammy's been getting a lot of inquiries about this, and so have I, because Tammy will say, you know, I'll defer to the solicitor, then I get a phone call about it. Our solar developments in this area. We have, I'd say since the beginning of '24, we've already had 4 or 5 developers, mostly out-of-state companies, looking for development either in Wharton or in Henry Clay. Now, Wharton has its own solar ordinance. Henry Clay does not. which means that we would defer to the county's solar ordinance, which means that whatever the county has said, just like if we didn't have zoning or planning, it would all fall on the county to decide all of that. That means whether there's soil testing, whether there's any type of noise or lighting restrictions, whether there's any buffer or setback requirements, that's all the county. So I think it's time, if we're going to start looking at our planning and our zoning ordinance, to also start looking at the solar. And I know solar is controversial. I know it is. The construction of solar farms is very controversial. There was a lot of pushback from residents when the county adopted its ordinance, but it's time we start having a conversation, because we just can't have nothing. Because the developers are gonna start trying to take it to the courts and have it, being forced upon us. So we better start thinking about putting in our own restrictions now and having some local control over it. Because if not, you're gonna defer to the county. It's gonna be a disaster.
The county doesn't care about it.
Right, and,
Yeah.
Not at all.
and we can make it meet our township instead of
make
like
it
our
meet you.
ordinances where
You're the
they,
resident.
where they don't.
You
Yeah,
gotta
make
live
it,
by it.
right.
I don't want one across the road from me.
I do.
I know.
And if it's across the road from you, it won't be across the road from me.
Right. That's it.
Right.
I'm from a
So
different
do we-
township, and there's a monstrous one. It's 197 acres. Took an
Wow.
old cattle farm, bought it, stripped it, tore the barn down, tore the house down. It's a giant solar farm. It's huge.
Do we need to make a motion to do that?
I think if you wanna make a motion to at least begin the exploration of forming the solar ordinance.
Yeah, I can make a motion to begin the solar ordinance.
Because Tammy's time is just being wasted as well, because she has to keep saying, well, go see the county, the county solar ordinance, and then they're asking more questions, and it's just not going anywhere. And especially when they're saying, well, Wharton has one, why don't we just go to Wharton? Well, I guess you could, but, eventually it's gonna reach its way here, because we have so much open space,
Okay.
so.
One of you want to second it?
Second.
Vote? Yes. Yes.
And that's all I have.
Okay, now it's time to, who wants to speak first?
I'll speak first.
Alright,
I need some help, and if you don't mind, I'd like to approach the bench and give you some literature I printed out so we can communicate together.
okay.
So, printed out 2 packets for everybody here.
That's a lot to read.
You don't have to read anything. So, I live at the first house on Big Bend, 104 Big Bend, right on Flanagan. That's my property that I have. So the dumpster is my issue. You can
We
sit on
talked
my
about
porch.
that today.
You can sit on my porch and watch the guy throw the cattle sack feeds in. You can watch him throw everything else in. So
Didn't they move that dumpster?
no, it's sitting at the top of the road. It's a free for all.
They moved it down and then they moved it back.
Yep.
They moved it up,
So-
back up because of the bad roads, the weather, okay?
Yeah.
So, but we talked about today with
These
Carrie,
dumpsters?
and we got a scheduling to go in for a ride, cause there's a
Okay.
couple other places.
Okay.
Okay.
But we think we're just gonna go house to house.
I would love that. In here, I put a bunch of pictures.
Okay.
That first page is new dumpster location, old dumpster location, all the way through to catching the cats and picking up all the garbage.
I was gonna say,
There's a ton of pictures if
It
you
was
wanna
getting to
look
be
at them.
a mess up there at the top, but that's why
Very
we
bad,
said to
so-
move that dumpster.
So that
But with
was
that
it.
being said, remember, everybody's gonna have to put it in a trash can and put it out to the edge of
I'd
the road.
help you out. I'd go door to door knocking and saying, hey buddy, this is what we're gonna do. And that other thing was simply, there's 56 dwellings on that road that are supposed to use that dumpster. In there, I can only find 3 that the address matches the mailing address. So that's 3 residents, that's 12 bags of garbage. I think if you go to that, you'll save fuel, you'll save time, and you'll save money. Because right now, I went up there Sunday and took pictures. There's a sink in there.
Yeah.
There's a range in
We
there.
have
there's
dumpster problems
feet.
on out the road
Right.
too, we
So
know.
I'm not here to argue and fight. I'm here to help. I want to be part of the solution. not
We,
part of
as
the
the
problem.
supervisors, wanted to be out of the garbage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you're not.
Our
right?
treasurer would not let us,
Right.
But it
and-
worked out.
It worked out.
It did work out.
but we still have some dumpster problems.
Right.
We know that.
Right. And that's what, you know, I don't, before we get all fighting and crazy, let's work together and solve the problem, you know? I
Well,
don't know
and
what
if we go house to house, if
problem
somebody's
solved. You
not
don't get-
paying the bill, we're gonna know what their address is that way too.
Not only that, you're not gonna get all the building material. I
Well,
watched
that's
the
the
guy
problem.
sit up there with saws on, cut up a refrigerator one day and throw it in there, right in the bed of his truck.
You see on 2x4s.
I don't know why you would do that when you can take it to one of the local
Right,
places and get, I don't know,
right.
maybe $5.
Well,
for it.
regardless, you can get a money for it. So that's all I was trying to point out is there's 56 people there. There's only 3 that live there that I can find that match. And I know I come up almost every weekend. I'm lucky if I can make a bag of
Well,
garbage.
that is what a Monday route, right?
Well, that's my fear. I come on
Is that a Monday
Friday.
route, Jeremy?
That
Yeah,
dumpster's
it's a Monday
full.
route.
So if you have 55 people putting garbage in there, 4 bags. That's why it's scattered all over the
Right.
place and piled up all around it. And I leave a rake and a snow shovel there to clean it up.
Now, if we go door to door, when you go down over Big Bend down there, there's that other road that makes a left down
East
that
Lakeview.
way.
That'd be like, well, before that you
We're
have
not going
Yacht.
down that road.
Right,
have
that's
Yacht.
narrow right there. So how
You have
would
Yacht Lake going up there where the dumpsters used to sit, and then you go a little bit more and you have Lakeview there.
We'll go down to where we turned, where the dumpsters used to sit, but we're not going back either road. They'll have to bring it out and make areas to put it out there.
that's the
because-
only problem we're gonna run into right there
Yeah,
with that
it's,
one.
you're
You
just
could put a
asking for
smaller
somebody to get
dumpster
hurt.
or a smaller truck go down and get the garbage. I don't see any need to run a big truck down there. I really don't. I think you get down there with that one. I don't know if you guys have a pickup truck with a dump hopper in the back, but I think you could do it that way.
We'd like to buy one of those.
Okay, well, I didn't know if you
I
had
see
that
you
or
work
not.
for Megan Ford, maybe you
I'll
could
sell
come
you
across
one.
a special deal.
I'm just a maintenance guy. But yeah, I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I've been talking with Larry for a year. You know, we bought that in 2003. In 2023, it was 20 years the dumpster come up top. And I'm like, what the heck? And it is. If you look through the pictures, you'll see the tire tracks where everybody comes in a UTV, throws off everything, and they're
Was-
probably doing it like you said out the road from me too.
Was
They
it
are.
better at the bottom or?
Oh
is it
yeah,
better at
much
the top?
cleaner because everybody at the bottom respected it, but you're still gonna get some building material because you got people doing projects that own property down there, but it was never the way it was up above.
Our next issue is gonna be trying to deal with Medford and finding back here. We got a problem there.
Well, we
and,
have to fix it. I mean,
that was some
They
of
just
the
don't
problem,
stay.
some of the residents or some of the, whatever you want to call it, summer birds,
Yeah, I'm not here to complain
were
about the
threatening
price.
us.
I'm the guy that
because
paid my garbage.
They didn't wanna pay
already.
the garbage.
Right.
But, I mean, it's.
Well, that goes back to the agreement that was court ordered decades ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but-
we're not bound by that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but that was their
I
point.
mean,
is
sometimes
that-
in the new world, we have to change and
Right. Adapt.
I'd like to pay my electric bill, but
Yeah,
was signed
it's
with that
from
agreement.
1990.
Yeah.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't happen like that anymore.
So
But we are gonna have to figure out a way how we can get to everybody's place to pick up the garbage down through there though. Cause if there's not a turnaround spot, how do you?
well, the only place I know to do is you would probably only need one dumpster at the bottom, smaller size, to deal with the people that are down there. Because everybody else is going to be
Everybody
able to
else
have
is
it
gonna
picked
do
up
house.
at their house. So you're going to get rid of, I don't know, 20 residents maybe, 25, half of them. Because once you get down there, Lakeview is where it becomes very tight. You know, house.
Lakeview's gated off too, right?
Correct.
Yeah, way at the end. But you can turn around back
Midpoint.
in a pickup truck. You can go back there and turn around at Lakeview by the gate.
Truck.
No,
No,
You
Lakeview's
can't.
gated off right off of Big Bend.
No.
No, yeah,
No.
there is a gate there.
There's a
There's a
gate
gate
there.
further
No.
back. They
It's always
rarely
open.
close the out.
I've never seen that gate
Right.
closed. The only one I've seen is when you go around Lakeview, there's a green gate between the two Lakeviews where it makes that real hard switch back. And I know you can turn around there in a truck because I did it.
We're not going down that road.
But I'm here to help, whatever we can do. But I'd love to get rid of it. And you know,
Next
my
thing you
problem
know, we're gonna
is
have a garbage
it's
truck in the
Turn that
lake.
big truck around.
what's my other question was, well, what's the setback or what's the right of way of a township road? 33 feet.
Well, that
Yeah, 16 and a half.
Listen, I
So
took a ride down-
It's 30 feet off the center line of the
I
road.
took a ride
That's
down
the
that
last
road.
Pictures in that booklet.
and if you're a resident of Henry Clay Township,
Yeah.
you have to have 2 acres to build a home and put a septic system in. I don't know how all these homes got built with septic systems down along there.
Me
And that was
neither.
way before any of us
Way
become
before me.
supervisor. But
If they're down
Yeah,
there.
I'd like to know how all that developed
Yeah.
when us residents live here our whole life and we have to follow certain rules just
Yeah.
because we don't
Well,
live
on
above
this,
the lake.
a lot of places, we have sand mounds.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't see one sand
I had to
mound.
put a
Oh,
sand
there
mound,
you
they
see.
made me put a sand mound
There ain't
on
no
a
sand.
80-acre farm.
They didn't
Yeah.
need a sand mound down there at the
No.
lake.
But respectfully, when
Yeah.
my cabin burned down and we came up here to get the proper permits to rebuild, none of those questions were asked about where's your, I mean,
Well, it
and
was existing.
this
Right.
was
It was
all
existing.
there since 1950.
Right.
So I take
Yeah, I take
I didn't
concerns
say
around
anything
that.
bad about it, I'm
Right.
just saying, when you, as a
I
resident,
agree.
Right.
I built a house on an 80-acre farm, I had to put a sand mound in.
Yeah.
They ain't
Right,
on
you pass a
4-acre
perk
lots
test
down
or
there.
you don't.
If
Right,
you're
I
lucky.
get it,
If you're
but
lucky,
it's
Larry.
there.
But
So
you know, it's every road that leads to the lake down along there. There's houses on just lots. You know what I
Lots,
mean? There's not acreage.
No, there's
lots.
no acreage. There's
Yeah,
some
there's
of them
no
that are only
acreage.
50 by 100 if you're lucky.
Yeah, and it's all on hillside too.
I don't know how they did it.
Whew, I don't know.
But I'd like to work with you to solve the problem with the dumpster.
That's fine. Well,
Yeah.
any house that we can get to going down that main drag, we'd be more than glad to stop at their house. And then if we can put one dumpster
I
down the
think you
bottom.
can get away with one smaller
But-
dumpster at the bottom. Because
Isn't
there's
there, like, isn't there a lot of seasonal houses down there too?
tons of them.
So would,
Tons.
would
When
they
I'm
need a
there on the
dumpster in the
weekends-
wintertime then?
No. You only have, like I said, I only have like 3 of them, but 2 of them are on that Lakeview Road. You could put a dumpster there, but crap, you could get away with a 2-yarder.
If they're coming out of them roads, can they get a garbage can, paint their address on it or something? and
Yeah, just
stuff
set it
I
there.
don't know. That'd be
you'll have a
something.
lot of cans.
I mean, it's the same as, maybe it's not, but it's trial and error. We're
Right.
trying to fix it.
Right.
So
Summertime
if we
will be a
paint the
business
cans,
time.
set
Well,
the
that's why
cans
I'm
down
here
there
today,
instead of
because
where the
in a month
dumpster
from
used
now,
to
I'll
set,
have
will
one
work
break
the same.
loose.
Right.
You know, you're gonna have
If you're not
everybody
there in the
coming
winter
back.
time, you won't
Yeah.
have your can there.
But, you know, from what I can sit on my porch and view, this weekend I saw one guy come out of the Big Bend Road and got rid of garbage, and I watched at least 7 guys come down with side-by-sides and throw garbage in and leave. Either turn around or continue out May West, or out
Okay.
Flanagan, that's all.
Well, we can get with you and try.
I'll give you my
something.
name, my numbers, my cell phone, I'll give you whatever we can at the end of the meeting, we'll work with you.
That's fine. Make sure we
Thank you.
get that. You're welcome.
That's all I have.
Next question.
Let's talk
Medford?
about well, we can start with Medford, but I'm sure there's lots of other roads. But yeah, I mean, we've had these discussions with various commissions here before on abandoning the road. And my first question to the attorney, and what are we to do? How do we access our property? You just said about not taking a vehicle down East Lake, go down Big Bend Road and across East Lakeview because you'll end up in the lake.
I said a garbage truck.
Well, but any truck, I mean,
We
so
went
how are
through
we
there
supposed to, an ambulance, fire trucks, how are they supposed to, so if you're gonna, I'd like to know what the criteria and what the process will be to have any of this discussion. And then, what do you expect landowners to do? When I was here 18 months ago, no different than a month ago, it's like, we'll escrow the taxes. See, can we escrow the taxes?
Are you talking about Medford Road?
Medford Road.
Okay, for tax money that we get on that road is probably about $1,500 or $1,800 a year.
I think it was 14.
Was it 14?
I'm pretty
So we
sure.
get $1,400 a year to maintain that hillside. It's just like the road they turned over to us from West Virginia. They gave us a strip of road that they just spent over $3 million to pay, and they gave it to us as a gift, but they only want to give us, it was $42,500 to maintain the 26 Sugarloaf. Does that include Flat Rock? I don't know.
Flat Rock isn't a turnback. Flat Rock's just a township
This
road.
is just Township Road. So at least those 2 roads, but so $42,000, if we take all that money, we're never buying a drop of salt. Because this year we bought salt and it ate up half the $42,000. We're never gonna repave it.
No.
But
Again,
So that road, in my opinion, I don't know, I can't speak for the other 2 gentlemen, in my opinion, we ought to just give that right back to the state.
Right, but he don't care about 26.
Right,
We're
I-
talking Medford.
I know. So again, back to what will the process be? How will property owners be notified? How will we object? I mean, because I'd hate to see us all going to court.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's gonna
don't
cost you
know.
all money.
We have to ask the attorney how that works.
Medford is a mess.
Well, you know, and we
I,
tried
I blew a motor coming down Medford.
coming
Moved
down
here.
Medford.
Huh?
Coming down or up?
Coming down,
It hit the rocks.
hit the rocks, tore out my oil pan. It is sitting down at Jack's Auto Seals. Justin Bates towed it. It is a mess. I moved here September of 2023. I have a 3/4 ton pickup. I had to buy a Honda CRV to get in and out. And then it ripped out my oil pan. That road needs attention.
Yeah, it's bad. It's a hard road to maintain. We maintained that road and then side by sides and stuff did donuts and tore it up. I mean, we try to get down there as much as we can, but it's not very often we get down to it. It's just a bad road.
Needs some drainage ditches and some runoff or something.
So you bought your house in 2023,
No, I bought it in 94.
94.
I just moved here full time.
Now, I
Sold my
know,
house in South Point and moved here.
I got a question for you, and don't take it the wrong way, because I mean no disrespect. Why the hell did you buy down there?
It was a summer camp.
Okay.
And then when I retired, I didn't want to live in South Point in a townhouse on a golf course. I wanted to live on the lake.
Okay, but how did you get to the lake? You went down over that hill.
Yeah.
And the
But we
problem
come
is,
in on Friday and go out on Monday.
right, but the problem is when you go downhill, you gotta turn around and come back up the hill.
But that's not my
hard hill.
point. When you drive down on Friday and come out on Monday, it's not as bad. But sometimes when you leave twice a day,
Right.
it's
That's-
bad.
Right, and that's crowded down there. I mean, there's a lot of houses down there.
Huh?
Well, that's what I'm saying. From a safety standpoint, that's how I've been approaching this is,
Or
That's,
2000.
that's my thing though, from a safety standpoint, is how did all them houses get down in there?
it doesn't, my father-in-law bought when there was nobody else there back in 1954.
And then
And,
everybody, but
and we
that's,
started from building, he started then, and
right.
so why do we want there? It's right, I abut the Army Corps.
Why don't you
And again, at the,
clear the private lane and let the people down in there take care of it?
but again, what am I paying for? I mean, that's the rub here. It's
Right.
like,
What are you paying for? What do you mean, what are you paying for?
we pay taxes.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, so,
That's
and the issue, if you abandon a road, does that go back to the homeowner, the property owner? And if it does, how do we get into our place?
Right, well, that's what we have to check into if that comes about for that road.
So, yeah, so, I mean, I'd be curious to know and make sure we're informed of what the process will be. Because
Right.
these are all the questions that are gonna be asked, and I'd rather not spend money on attorney's fees.
Oh, definitely not, but even whenever, there were several residents down there a few years ago complaining about the road.
They always complain.
Right, and the state lady told us, she said, you guys might not have no choice but to abandon that road if they keep complaining because of the road being so bad, and I get it, I mean,
That is true.
I know you guys
That's
want a
not,
good
that's
road,
not,
we want you to
yeah.
have a good road, but that's hard to keep on
Well,
that road.
again, we'd have to understand how do we get in?
Right,
Fix your own road.
Well, I don't have a problem, but not if it goes back to the property owner.
yeah,
Well, you own
they
the
can't
We
property,
don't,
fix your
it's-
road.
they can't landlock you out of the state.
Well, that's what
It's
you,
not a good
again,
situation, no matter how we look at it.
Right.
We know that.
And we wanna do the most reasonable things so you guys can still access your property, so that's why we wanna do some checking on, if it comes up to that road, we wanna check on it.
But we wanna be able to afford to fix it too. I mean,
Well, that road's dangerous to work on, I mean,
it's very dangerous to work on because it's steep.
Well, did anyone take a look at the sugar lift bill? Remember how much that was? And that wasn't even the full cost
right.
of sugar loads. That was just a quarter of sugar loads.
Well, and you couldn't even pave Medford Road to get it to stay because it would be like an ice rink.
Oh, you'd
I
be
mean, I'm
dangerous
telling you,
in
that
the winter.
would be
You'd
bad.
end up in the lake.
You would end up in the lake,
Yeah.
because at the bottom where you turn and go this way, the ground's even given, like it's not as wide as it once was down there because it keeps washing away.
the Army Corps blamed that on Henry Clay
Really?
because of the maintenance of the road.
Henry Clay is our
But
line's
the-
up some
Yeah, but
from
if you
that.
look at that right now is a perfect example. Water runs because of there's no drainage. Because, lots of reasons.
but
Water
if-
runs right down.
Right
That's what
down
the
the
Army.
middle.
So that's what I'm saying. You're
Sounds like a
pitting us
billion-dollar
against.
project.
Right, well, it's more than that.
I rode that road
If
with
you
Stephanie.
would, if
and
you
we
would
rode
cut
a
water
different
breaks
road.
in that road though, then the
And she
neighbors
says
would
to
complain
fix
that
road.
Dumping the
that you're
water.
dumping the water on them, and then the hillside's gonna give them, it's gonna wash their house in the lake.
Again,
Stephanie said to fix that situation, there's a different way of fixing it, that you better get grants, cause she says it's roughly 10 million.
But the issue is, you can't,
It isn't that we haven't looked at the road,
No,
and we haven't
we've
tried
been
to
here
figure
for
out-
decades.
They'll take a
It's
look
been
at
the
it
same old
tomorrow.
battle.
But
I'll meet
it's,
you at the top.
one, cost, two, how do you go down a side of a mountain and do it safely?
sure,
And three, she did give me another way of doing it. I never bothered to bring it up to these guys because at $10 million, who are we gonna talk to?
We can't invest $10 million
Well-
down there and let the rest of the township go, there's no way.
When you got 10, when you ever gonna make 10 million?
No, we don't have $10 million.
and the issue is, okay, so like building that building through an LSA grant, you can't apply for paving roads, stormwater control, anything like that with an LSA grant. You can only build parks, you can only build buildings.
Right,
So that's your biggest source of revenue for the state to do a grant. So what options do you have, other than saving your liquid fuels for another 20 years? All of it.
yeah, and you can't do that, cause you gotta plow your snow in the wintertime. Yeah, and that's why we don't have no maintenance, cause there's no way you can maintenance out in the wintertime. Absolutely
Oh,
not,
no.
you couldn't start down over there.
If you
no
try
way.
to maintain, that would be a death trap for somebody.
Funding sources for roads.
Jesse, how did you acquire that to start with?
Oh, that's been acquired way before I was here, Clarence, that road's just been there.
I've realized that.
I think somebody logged it years ago, like he said, in 1950. Somebody probably logged it in the 40s, and then somebody built a cabin down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna draw a road and down to where you guys can take care of it.
That's right.
And they don't realize the consequences.
But it's just, it's
My s-
hard.
We went down to service I'm gonna mention who, we serviced somebody's furnace, and Eddie didn't think he's gonna back out. So
I've
as
had to
far as
believe-
I'm concerned, I don't give a hoot if they freeze.
Yeah,
ain't
I had-
going down.
I can't go down there with my truck without putting it in full drive and come back like
No,
that.
that's what Eddie,
Yeah, you gotta have
four-wheel
full
drive, and
drive.
it's still spotty.
Yeah, it's a bad
You
road,
can't
it's
put
hard.
gravel on it, cause
And
they're
then
just
just
gonna
spin it
spin the
off.
gravel
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And wash out.
So,
Yep.
and it'll spin out before it washes out.
Well, and the amount of gravel you.
Yeah.
Well, there's just nowhere for the
You ain't
water
gonna
to
get
go
a truck
either.
to
It
tailgate
goes
it.
Yeah.
down.
It's
Well,
too
and I'll tell
steep.
you too, most ambulances are not four-wheel drive. You will not
Right.
get an ambulance down there and get it back out.
I don't know why the road couldn't be better to come out across Big Bend. I mean,
Yeah,
That would be a
there's
better
that one
way.
switchback in there, like it's
Right.
developed, stopped, and then developed again. You
yeah,
know
that
what I mean?
switchback's like,
I'm like,
I-
but
2,500 around
the
that.
challenge is it's single lane all across there. So what
Right.
if two cars meet going the opposite direction?
that's right, it is one lane.
And so it's not a safe, viable way to get in
I
there.
understand it's a beautiful area and that's what we attract, is the people for our area, 'cause it's beautiful up there. And we're not trying to discourage that in any way. But how do you fix a problem that's been handed to you over the years? I did, like I said, I have been on that road with Stephanie from the state. And she's gave me a couple other choices, but unless somebody's got a pretty big wallet here, we're
Stop.
not going nowhere.
Did you see
I mean-
Jesse saying that the state told you to close it?
Which said that we might have to give it back, but like they're saying, who do you give it to? Because you don't wanna give it to every property owner, cause if you give it to the one at the top and they just say, I don't want nobody crossing
That's
me,
it.
Then you're done.
you cut off everybody in the bottom, so that would
Yeah,
have to
now
be
you
like an
lost it.
access
Now you
road
lost
for
it.
every owner down through
You
there.
have to put it right away.
I think originally there was a right of way for all of them down below.
Okay,
I can remember we coming to the meetings that they, talked over Marlboro, and just for gratitude of doing that road. I don't know when it got turned over to back full-time into the township.
okay, that's a steep road down through there,
Mhm.
just like Larry was saying about, I mean, you'll see it even back, Iker Road, if you go to the clear back of Iker Road, down over that hillside, there's beautiful houses down through there. And like he said, nobody has a sand mound, they all got just regular conventional septics, and you're rated by the Army Corps of Engineers.
There was no ordinances then.
Yeah, back then,
Right.
on an ordinance.
Probably not. But,
So while we sort through all, in the meantime, any chance of at least sending a grader or something down and addressing it a little bit, or?
yeah, we can dress it up a little bit, but we're probably gonna be,
It's been so wet.
yeah, it's probably gonna be at least till the rain quits. So if you can give us like 2 weeks, we'll try to get down there and give it a little attention. Before the next meeting, we'll make it down there.
Great.
So,
Would appreciate it.
yeah, yeah,
We
we'll,
did a lot on Big Ben.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
we-
did great on Big Ben.
yeah,
The only good thing
we
is
had
it's
to, we
not
think
near-
Big
somebody.
Ben's rough road too, but it's not near as steep as Medford. I mean, Medford's a dangerous road. When you get on Medford, that hillside is.
And it's wide, you can pass each other on Big Ben,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
we think somebody salted Big Ben this year though.
That's what hurt us on
That's
Big
what
Ben.
killed Big Ben.
Somebody went down there and
Rutted it
salted that
bad.
road. It cost the township a lot
Oh,
of
well,
money.
I'm just happy I'm at the top. I won't lie. You know where I'm at, I'm the guy with the pine trees right there where the dumpster is, so. I drive Big Ben from
You got
here to the
lucky
main
and that's
road,
up
you
at the
know,
top.
and I'm out, I'm on pavement.
All right, anybody else got anything? All right, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Vote, yep.
Yes.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.